Hi everybody, this is Joyce, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about the tarot. What is it and how does it work? And so this is not like a really heavy academic talk, this is just a brief overview and also some of my impressions and opinions. So, really briefly, tarot became widespread in the 1400s as a card game. And it wasn't until like the mid 1700s that people decided that, okay, we could use these cards for divination to perhaps tell the future or give advice. Instead of having, they had the four suits and they had the court cards, the king, queen, jack, what have you. And they started to assign meaning to those different numbers and the court cards, and they used it for divination. And today, one of the widest, the most one of the most widely used cards are the Rider-Waite deck, and this is a system of 78 cards, and it was created in the early 1900s, and people have adapted that system for their own images. There are cards now using the same general interpretations. They have angels, they have vampires, they have mermaids, they may have unicorns and teddy bears or anything that resonates with the person who created the cards. And but basically, they have the same. They have similar meanings to the Rider-Waite system. So basically, this is the full card from the Rider-Waite deck. This is an image that many of us know. And another deck, a deck that I use a lot, is called the Angel Tarot, and this is the full card from that deck. It's a little bit different. The angel figure there has wings, and also this is another deck that I've been starting to work with, and this is the Starman Tarot, and this is based basically on images and the career of the late David Bowie, rock star and actor. And this is called the Sacred Clown, and this is the equivalent of the full card of the Rider-Waite deck. So, there are just hundreds of decks out there, and there are people who are creating decks all the time. And a lot of times they base it on the system where meanings are similar, but the images are slightly different and are made to resonate with, you know, to anybody's preference. So I told a story in another video about spirituality, where I was introduced to different spiritual modalities at a young age. So I have a brother and sister, but they're a few years older than me. Actually, they're like 10 and 11 years older than me. So when I was 6, my closest sibling was like 17, 18. So even though we interacted and sometimes, they played with me, but basically, the age gap was so great that a lot of times I felt like an only child, boo-hoo. But it really wasn't so bad. My mom, she always, did things to try to help me to keep occupied and without driving her crazy. And she taught me how to play solitaire. That's a card game that you play, as you probably know, where you lay out cards, and the goal is to get all the suits together in one pile. And I used to love playing solitaire, after I, got down to the mechanics of it. And I would try to beat the system basically, because as a lot of solitaire games are not easy to beat. You play it and I think 9 times out of 10 you're going to lose. And so I would try to say, well, if I play this row of cards first, if would that help? If I could flip over the downturn cards, and what system, what method can I do to make that happen. And then I used to try to cheat. I used to just, rearrange the cards before I laid them out. Instead of shuffling them, I arranged the cards a certain way and then lay them out to see whether that would help me win the game. So it was an interesting pastime for me. I had a cousin who also was a little bit older than me, who taught me about astrology. She told me, about the different signs based on your birth date and the different personalities associated with each zodiac sign, and that was fascinating to me. And she told me about extrasensory perception, ESP, clairvoyance and intuition and all that kind of thing. And actually, she took a deck of regular playing cards, and she would put one to her head. She said, okay, I'm going to really think about what suit this card is, and I want you to try to get the image from my mind and tell me what suit am I holding, to my head right now. And I would say, diamonds, and then she would turn the card around and say, no, that is a spade. Okay, let's try another one, and we would go back and forth like that. And it seems that I didn't really have any great aptitude with that. Maybe I was average or even below average with that, but it was interesting. It really opened me up to the possibilities of the human mind and what we are potentially capable of. So that was interesting. But going back to the tarot, she taught me a new way to play solitaire, which blew my mind because I thought there was only one way to play solitaire, which was the way my mom told me how to lay out the cards. But my cousin taught me a completely new way to play solitaire, a different way to set up, the little foundation, I think that's what you call it. Set up the cards, a different spread, so to speak, and that was just mind blowing. Like, wow, there's more than one way of doing this thing. And little did I know that this would eventually lead to me being interested in the tarot. And actually, I didn't really even know there was a connection between the two. Although, over time I did come to realize that there were some people who actually use a regular playing deck, the 52 cards plus the jokers, and they use that as a kind of divinatory tool. So, people do that today. They, assign meanings to the different cards, the different numbers, and the court cards. And they do the same thing, and it's basically all the same thing. So what is the difference? What's the difference between playing a deck of cards that you use to play a game and a deck of cards that you use for divination? And the answer is the intention, right? Because you can take the same deck of cards and play a game with it, or you could use it for something else. And it's the intent of the person using the card that makes the difference. And intention is everything. It may seem as if that's like a small, trivial thing, but it's really not. Say, because, you have a fork. Let's say you have a fork, which is an eating utensil, and you use it, to get, pick up food and, put it in your mouth to eat, this very polite way of doing it. You can use your fingers too, but, we have to use a utensil to do that because that's what we did. And so the fork is an eating utensil, but if you, kind of hold the fork like this, then stab somebody in the eye with it, the fork is a weapon. So it is, the intent is very much an important part of anything that you do. Whatever intent that you put to something, that can change a harmless item into something that is harmful, for instance, or it could just change it. I'm not saying, so I don't want to say that, a playing card and tarot is harmful and harmless. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm trying to convey is that the intent makes the difference of what makes a card, a playing card, or tarot. But then you say, okay, so you use a playing card. I mean, you shuffle the card, a tarot. Let's say you take a tarot deck. You shuffle the cards, and each card has a meaning, but you shuffle a card, and then you pop one out, and you tell a person or you tell yourself that this card means that based on your situation, and isn't that just random? And my answer is no, because I don't believe that anything is random. I don't believe in random events. I think that everything happens for a reason. And it's really interesting that, I could use a scientific explanation for something that does not seem to be scientific, but the universe has purpose. Everything happens for a reason. There are laws of gravity, there are laws of this, there are laws of that. And, lots of things can be explained based on science. And so, with that being said, things that we think are random actually have a logical explanation. And so, when the card is shuffled and comes out of the deck, I think it happens for a reason. Things happen in our lives, and even the smallest things, I believe, and it is not for it's not for a trivial reason. It's because it was meant to be, because of what God and the universe have in store for us, or what our purpose is, what we're here for. So if I shuffle a card and, the first card in the deck is the Ten of Cups, then this is meant to convey joy and emotional satisfaction, based on on the situation that you ask about. And I'm asking about, is there a reason? And the reason is yes, because we are, that's the way things are. Look at that beautiful rainbow in the sky. That is for a reason. It shows that you can gain, you can gain satisfaction from believing in the universe. So that is how tarot works. It works because you have the intention, the reader has the intention of using these tools to help someone, or if they're asking a question for themselves, to help themselves in order to understand life. And it's really funny, tarot is not the only way you can do this. I mean, people, anyone, we all do things like that every day. Sometimes, a lot of times people go through life and they don't really pay attention to things around them. Awareness is everything, and that's probably, the subject for another video. You have to be aware of what's going on around you. One time I was talking to someone about a decision I had to make, and it was a choice between one thing and another. And we were talking. We were kind of like sitting in the restaurant, and we were talking. And when I mentioned the choice that really resonated with me the most, I swear, all of a sudden, it just, we looked outside and it just started pouring raining out of nowhere. It was like, I don't think there was, rain in the forecast. It was actually sunny. Excuse me. It was actually sunny, you know, um, you know, just before it started raining, like maybe 2-3 minutes before it started raining. It was a sunny day. Next thing you know, the clouds came out, and bam, it was like a downpour. It lasted for maybe like a minute or so, and then it stopped. I'm like, wow, that was weird. That was weird, but it kind of was the punctuation for what I was talking about. And for me personally, rain has and water is very important to me. I love water, and so rain to me is a significant event. It doesn't have to be the rain. It could be anything. You're talking about something. Next thing you know, there's the light bulb. Just burns out. Or something. Falls. That was. Falls from the table. Or rolls off the table at a certain time. Or it could be anything. A lot of times people, they look at the clock and they see that it's 11:11, and they're like, oh my goodness, all the ones, that's a sign, and they'll see 333, or 444, and that's a sign for them. And other different, these are what we call like synchronicities. That's something you think about something, and then something a little bit unusual or something noteworthy happens as you're thinking about that thing. And there is more than it's more than a coincidence. It's kind of like maybe it could be seen as something meaningful to say, well, maybe I should pay attention to that further at least. And it's really funny. I think about the 111 thing. It's like, I'm 59 years old, okay? So back in my day, when we looked at the clock, and the big hand was 11 notches past the 12, and the little hand was like a little bit between the 1 and the 2. It was 11 minutes after 11, right? So maybe, that doesn't roll off the tongue very fast. So maybe, we didn't really realize it, but that was 11:11 back in the day. But it didn't resonate now that we have everything is digital, at 11 minutes after 11, it's like 1111, right? And it's like, oh wow, that means something. So I guess 11:11 meant something back then, but we just couldn't see it, But I digress. Be that as it may, things are not always necessarily a coincidence. And with the tarot, I think that that's the case as well. And it really goes back to intent once again. When you see a card and it's assigned pretty much a predetermined meaning, or a predetermined range of meanings. because even like kind of like with the different Fool cards, the Fool means, innocence. This card says the angel of innocence. Could be innocence. It could be, being open, being free, being, just, and being open minded to what the possibilities are, and it really depends on the situation. It could actually be meaning, you know, um, being a little bit too naive. It could mean, or being afraid. Sometimes if you read cards that are in the reverse position, sometimes cards come up right side up and right side down, and upside down or right side up. And you can say, okay, you're afraid to take a chance. It depends. And each reader has their own way of interpreting things. So, one person asking the same question to like three different readers may get a different reading. They may get a different card, even, and but in a lot of times they still get the same type of message, but maybe from a different angle. So I do believe that is how the tarot works for me. Everyone has to come to their own reckoning of what it is, but the main thing I think is that um, whatever messages we're meant to get from the universe, we will get them. And sometimes, we see signs and we don't pay attention to them. And sometimes, the signs are clear, and we do get it. And we get it. We get the message, and it could be the tarot, it could be anything. As I was talking in another video, spirituality and comes in all different forms. Answers come in all different forms. It's not just one mode of communication. You could have a gut feeling in your body. Why is that anymore? That's just as valid as anything else. So it's an interesting discussion, an interesting thought, and something that I may even come back to in the future. So as I'm shuffling here, I just want to pull a card to kind of give a final thought on the tarot and why it works. And as I'm doing it, I have the intent of getting an answer. As I'm shuffling, I'm not actually saying all the words, but I'm trying to become a clear channel for what the universe wants to tell us today. And I'm putting the intent of the question, into this shuffle, and hopefully that, I can make this a little bit clearer for us all. And so the card we have is the Five of Swords, actually. So actually I live near a train station, so that's the train coming by. And so actually the Five of Swords is a card about one-upmanship. It's about having a debate, having arguments about things, and communicating, and actually having one person thinking they're right and other people walking away in defeat. And so, when it comes to tarot, you have to stand, you think, it's up to you whether you believe it or you don't. You know, and it shouldn't be something, and it should be something that comes from inside. You can't have someone tell you, okay, this is what it is. This is the only way it is. This is what you should believe. You know, there is no right or wrong answer, basically. So, whatever, if I've said anything here today that resonates with you, then that's fine. And if it doesn't resonate with you, that's okay too. But in any event, see it as an opinion, a different point of view, and as something of interest, maybe, and leave it at that. And if it resonates with you, that's fine. If you believe in tarot and you think it works a different way than what I've said, that's fine too. No one has really the definitive answer. It has to come from within, and there's no need to, be, mad or violent about it. You know, everyone is entitled to their opinion. So, thanks for listening, and just to let you know, I just started a Patreon page, and if you are interested in supporting me and what I'm doing, I give out a lot of free content. Head on over to my Patreon page. The link is in the description box, and see if you would like to support me there. There are different tiers, and you can get anything from a free reading for every month, and really discounts. And I'm even offering a telephone, a 30-minute telephone consultation for people who subscribe to one of one of the higher tiers. So there are different options for different pocketbooks. So if you would like to, please visit me at Patreon, and I'm always here, for personal readings. So if you would interested in that, it's all in the description box. And please like this video, subscribe to my channel, share this so that we can grow and we can get the message out and start and have these discussions and spark interest and inspiration. And thanks again, and have a great day.